I would say not too far away. Oh, ooh, look at that, Nick. Did you see that near Westwood?
Where are we?
This is on our radar system 1. Just to the east of Westwood. There seems to be this little notch just to the north of...
That does have a velocity signature to it there.
Okay.
There is some rotational spin. That is going to be right over Blue Valley Parkway.
Okay.
Yeah, Blue Valley Parkway is where that's coming over, and Van Bryant Boulevard there, or Van Brunt.
Okay. We have a tornado warning, guys. Heads up.
What's that, please?
They're issuing a tornado warning.
There we go. I'm hearing the sirens going off. I'm hearing the beeps going off in the newsroom.
So there's the wireless emergency alerts.
So this is now a new tornado warning. This one stays in effect until 3. This is for Jackson, Clay, and Ray counties. This is now a new tornado warning, which is part of the reason why we continue to have pretty much all hands on deck within the 3 meteorologists here, and also getting reports from the other members of the team who are keeping in contact with us. Nick, go ahead.
We may want to think about having non-essential personnel take their tornado shelters in here right now. It looks like it's going to go just north of us, but it's going to be pretty close. It's going to be real close. He's just kind of getting this through here. It's going to. I think it's going to go north.
Right.
But I mean, if you want to err on the side of caution, you know, maybe some non-essential personnel.
That would include. I don't know if you guys heard that. I think they did hear that, Nick. So this is coming very close to the studio itself, and we are erring on the side of caution. But if we're doing it, that means you should be doing it in your house as well. This is now a new tornado warning that has been issued until 3 o'clock for portions of Clay County, southern portion of Clay County, also Jackson County, and Ray County, just a small portion of Ray County until 3. What's happening right now is we are just evacuating the newsroom for the time being to stay on the safe side. Also, we have folks on the second floor of our building as well who should also get into their safe area. It's a small area that's just now starting to move to the east and northeast, and they'll be heading toward the studio itself. Remember, we're close to Swope Park, 63rd, 435. But what we're noticing is the potential for that rotation to be there. Kelly, you as well, please. Get to the studio if you can. I mean, get to your safe area if you can, my dear. Thank you. So, yeah, we are taking our precautions here in the studio just to be on the safe side. That this is now a new tornado warning. Radar indicated until 3 o'clock. The good news is because it is moving so rapidly, this is the way it works. It stays in effect until 3, but for any one given area, it's not going to stay over, say, our studio until 3 o'clock. Once it passes us by at about 40 or 45 miles an hour, we'll have the all clear. And then the same will happen for other communities farther down the line. But within this new box, which goes all the way toward, that would be Ray County, it's going to take it from now until about 3 to get to the easternmost portion of that warning. Does that make sense? So yeah, for any given time, it could be just a small portion of time that it'll be over any one given area. As a matter of fact, most tornadoes affect a region, like say your specific location, for about 18 seconds. Approaching, affecting you, and then leaving. And probably the same thing with these. If you're ever at a railroad crossing, you can see the boxcars pass in front of you and then leave. Same thing with a tornado that's moving at about the same speed of a freight train, 35 miles an hour or so. But these are moving quicker than that. But what you're seeing there, there's that, oh man.
Tightened.
This really
yeah, that has really tightened up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a big change.
Yeah. So let's zoom in as best we can. I just want to get street level.
Yep,
yeah.
you got it.
Okay, that's near the sports complex, near Eastwood. So this is passing near not only Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium, thank goodness they're out of town, but this is right now about ready to converge right on the sports complex itself. This is part of that tornado warning that is now going to stay in effect until 3 o'clock. So if you live near the Truman Sports Complex, if you live along I-70 right now, I would say you should be in your safe area near Van Horn High School as well, because sometimes these things wobble. They may do a little right moving or left moving, but right now...
Hey, Buzz.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think a tornado is likely near the sports complex 2 miles north of our station, 2 miles north of KMBC, coming right over the sports complex. If you're anywhere near Arrowhead or the K, you need to be taking your tornado precautions immediately. There's likely a tornado coming right over there right now.
Okay. Did we go to, just out of curiosity, have we looked at the debris signature?
I've got a correlation coefficient, everything yet. I'm waiting for the next round to come through.
Yeah, because it's going to be a little lag.
Yeah, that's an incredibly tight circulation, and it's only 1,000 feet off the ground from the radar site. So
and that just happened.
And that's what makes me think that it is in progress. It happened so quickly, and it's so close to the radar site, and it's such a strong signature.
Right.
We got to err on the side of caution and tell people they got to be seeking shelter, and we got to start giving the alert out downstream of that.
Yeah. What we pulled up is the scout cam that's near the stadium itself, and you still see the rain, but on the other side of that curtain could be that tight circulation that's coming very close to the sports complex itself. And that's why we're telling you to definitely get into your safe area, lowest level possible. As many walls between you and the outside, protecting the head, facing the wall. You knew all the things. Yeah, go ahead.
It's now TDS. It's a confirmed tornado.
It's a confirmed tornado within the city limits, pretty much. If it's near the sports complex, this is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely take this one seriously. That's part of the reason why we've stayed on the air this long. We knew that there's a possibility that these things will breathe. They will kind of expand. They'll contract. They'll take a breath in, and they will sometimes change.
It is going to be moving. It's right over there right now.
Yeah, it is. It is right over. What's the speed? Are they going 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour?
I have not looked yet, but we've got Storm Tracker 9 out there right now, and they're pretty close. They're going to be behind it.
45, Brian.
45?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. If it's moving at 45 miles an hour, and that seems to be, oh man, look at that signature that's on the radar itself. Just showing you that there is a tight rotation very close to the sports complex. I would say if you're west of the sports complex for the time being, because of the lag of the data, you should be a little safer, but stay at least in your area for another 10 minutes or so just to be on the safe side.
Two things. We can get our staff back into their positions. We're safe. That's the all clear here for the station, all clear for the staff here. Second, Independence, they're next in line. They need to be in their tornado safety places right now.
Agreed. So what we're saying there is for the building itself, Raytown, since we're very close to that, all clear for the time being. But Independence, you're next in line. Independence, Missouri, it is heading toward you. Once again, that's where you see the better chances. So let's zoom into that. Yeah, that's fine where you have it, Brittany.
Okay.
35th Street, there you see that. 23rd Street, there you see that as well. But now it seems to be in a beeline about, what, 45 miles an hour to the east and northeast. So let's zoom in out just a hair so I can get a little bit bearings of where it is located, because still that is there. Okay, very close to Van Horn High School at the present time, or maybe a little farther east of Van Horn because of the lag of data coming in, but it's something to be definitely weary of. But now it's heading toward the city of Independence itself, and heading farther to the east at 35 or 40 miles an hour, but still holding its signature together and still looking for reports out the corner of my eye. And Brittany, if you see anything coming in from the chat, the National Weather Service chat, certainly let me know.
Will do.
And it looks like we've changed scout cameras. Is that still at the stadium to the booth? Okay, so this is I-70 in Blue Ridge. Okay, so it's a slightly different vantage point. And now you can certainly tell that the visibilities are coming down a little bit. You're also noticing that not only do you have the torrential rainfall, but the problem is it's still part of that portion of the line that has had the signature that's shown up and has really, once again, tightened up quite a bit. Nick is also looking at what we call the correlation coefficient. That just lets us know if there's debris that's being thrown up, because a raindrop and a hailstone are going to have a different shape on the radar scope, but shingles, plywood, bricks, debris from a structure is going to have a different signature, a different shape. There we go. So this seems to be very close to Independence right now, very close just to the north of Truman High School, and it could be maybe 2 or 3 minutes ago that it was there, but what you're seeing is at least a heightened portion of the scale itself that could be, once again, the potential that there's going to be debris aloft, whether it be from the tornado itself still on the ground or from the winds associated with that portion of the line. So yeah, all clear for the folks in the second floor, all clear for our newsroom for the time being, and all clear for you if you live very close to Swope Park or close to our studios, very close to Raytown itself. Still showing you that now east and northeast of Van Horn. Let's do a fresh storm track on that. Let me throw it to Nick if I can, or Brittany, just to let me get a quick sip of water and still look with my phone to other reports that are coming in. With a tornado warning that stays in effect, as you see at the bottom of your screen. This is a tornado warning for portions of Cass County, Johnson County, Missouri, Jackson County, I should say, Jackson County, Missouri, and Ray counties as well as Johnson County, Kansas, but it seems like it's moving a little farther east of that.
Trying to get a storm track ready for you, Brian. There we go. It's having a little bit of some issues there. I believe this is moving still, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, I think about 40, 45 miles per hour. So we'll do around that for you. Independence, about 236. We're looking at Buckner 253 for time of arrival, Oric about 302, Napoleon about 303. So that's kind of the arrival of this rotation that we've been watching here. Just looks like we also have a report of a semi blown over on I-435 southbound past Raytown Road before Eastwood. That report just coming in, so it appears we do have some damage, at least a semi blown over. That report just coming in. Let me go ahead and get rid of the storm track and zoom on out for you. I do want to quickly show you here the zoomed out view for this to remind you, even outside of the tornado warnings themselves, we have very strong wind gusts within this line of storms, easily above 70 miles per hour. So even if you are not within the red highlighted polygons, please be aware and stay away from windows. Very strong wind gusts expected within even just the severe thunderstorm warning itself, which is the yellow polygon. I'm going to zoom right back in. You can see how the red one is flashing here north around the Blue Springs area. Of course, this is that tornado warning we've been watching. That is a confirmed tornado warning that we have here. And again, that is in effect until about 3 p.m. I do want to go ahead and put it back in velocity mode just to see what that's looking like. Let's see, a little zoomed in view here. Not looking as impressive, Brian, Nick, but definitely still present there around Independence.
It is, and it's starting to move almost straight north of the radar, and straight north of the radar and straight south of the radar. It's going to be difficult with getting a, let's call it an accurate reading of the wind that's within that storm, because those storm winds are blowing across the radar beam as opposed to blowing toward or away from the radar beam. So it's tough sometimes to get an accurate read on the velocities when you get that signature to come, you know, straight north or straight south of the radar site. But I would peg that velocity signature right over Independence and moving north and east toward Buckner and Sibley. So that is going to be your first alert. If you're in Buckner or Sibley, I want you to be in your tornado safe place right now, because this confirmed tornado earlier, I mean, it was a very, very pronounced signature, had a tornado debris signature, which is the radar detecting bits of debris that the tornado has lofted. That's how we confirmed that tornado. And that is moving right over Independence right now. It's zipping past Independence, and it's moving up. It's going to be coming up over 24 Highway. That's just to the north of Independence, and that runs east towards Buckner and Levacy and Sibley. So we've also highlighted this area here that's along the river: Richmond, Carrollton, Higginsville, and Marshall. You know, this is going to be a zone where the storm is still able to produce rotation and produce these brief tornadoes. It looks like there is now some outflow or some rain-cooled air that's rushing out ahead of the storm that begins at 470 through Lee Summit to Raymore and then hooks back down south of Aubrey, and that would tend to minimize the potential of tornadoes or rotation for that part of the storm. But meanwhile, you still have a solid inflow with the northern portion of that line of storms near and north of Blue Springs. That's coming in Independence, and then that's going to be moving almost right along the river. So if you live right along the river, north or south of the river, from Richmond over to Carrollton, it's going to be Waverly, Higginsville, Marshall. If you're in that corridor, I really need you to be alert for the next hour or so, because I don't know if this storm is done yet, Brian, producing tornadoes.
Hey, you see what's also on our scope here? If you see it's flashing, doesn't that mean, because that means confirmed? So that is now a new confirmed tornado warning that expires at 3. This is for Jackson County. So that's part of the reason how our software lets us know whether it's just radar indicated or spotter indicated. This is now a confirmed tornado. Let's zoom in on just this box only. This is now the portion of the cell that Nick was talking about, and aptly so. He was saying very close to the river, so that's going to go near the, I would say, the ammunition plant off 7 Highway, north Blue Springs, heading toward Sibley, heading toward Fort Osage School District. This is now the portion of the cell that is now going just to the east of Independence and heading in that easterly or easter to northeasterly direction, Buckner to Sibley. Also, northern portions of Blue Springs. Again, I'm thinking closer to the ammunition plant more so than the city proper along 7 itself. But please get into your safe area. Is that little notch that you see there. And again, if you're not looking with a fine-tooth comb, if you're not looking with a magnifying glass, you may say, okay, it's not that big a deal, just a line of thunderstorms. But within that line of thunderstorms, we have several that are showing up that have the potential of rotation that's moving through here. And once again, we've been talking about what we call the couplet, where you see the green, which is inbound toward the radar, which is down in Pleasant Hill, outbound, which is the red, which is heading away from. But what Brittany is circling right there is pretty close to that circulation. Let's zoom in and almost do street level if we can to try to get some of those indications. So that's going to be, well, in the path will be Ripley. There'll be 24 Highway. So this is now between 24, there's a Little Blue Parkway going up. Okay, I see what you're saying now. So this is toward East Independence. So it is now just to the east of William Chrisman High School, east of the Community of Christ Auditorium. So now it's moving toward East Independence, at least as far as the signature is concerned. But now this is heading up toward, that would be, once again, as we mentioned, getting closer to Ripley, getting closer to south of the river, or right along the river itself. And those are the areas now that we're concerned about, so you be in your safe area. As we said before, putting as many walls between you and the outside, protecting your head from the debris that was lofted. But this is now a confirmed tornado that the Weather Service is tracking, and it is now in East Independence, so we can at least give a all clear out for Raytown, for areas farther to the west. So that's good news. And even for the heart of Independence itself, it's looking a little better. But right now that circulation is going farther to the east. And as I mentioned, Fort Osage High School is pretty much in the path of this new confirmed tornado that is on the ground within the metropolitan area, which is why it's amazing when people say, oh, tornadoes don't hit big cities or they don't hit the city itself. There's really nothing magical or mystical about the skyscrapers or the low-level winds. Any of that has nothing to do with it. These, especially a line like this that's had the energy to do just that, that's why we're seeing within this flashing area, that is now a confirmed tornado warning that is now in effect for Jackson County. This is going to stay in effect for another 20 minutes or so, at least until 3 o'clock. So that's why we want you to be in your safe area for the time being. Nick, I know you've been doing a little analysis, and I know you're running back and forth. Was there anything that you saw?
I still think we need to take this. It's coming over part of the radar, but you still got to take it that it's on the ground. I still got a velocity signature there that is just now crossing east of 291. It's just crossing east of 291, east of Independence, and it's moving toward Buckner. So I still think there's enough here to say that this is still in progress. And it's moving towards Buckner. So if you're in Buckner, and if you're in Sibley, you know, this was either on the ground earlier, or it still is in progress. We're going to make the decision of least regret. Okay, thank you, Sierra. Talking to the producers back there, we need to make the decision of least regret. And that is to take it that it is still in progress and it's moving towards Buckner, and it's going to be coming up over Highway 24 Highway that runs into Buckner. So Buckner, Sibley, Levacy, if you live there or any of the other parts of the unincorporated county, you need to be taking your tornado shelter immediately because there's a likelihood of a tornado in progress or wind strong enough to do damage. There is a bit of an outflow boundary that extends to the south of this, we call it a couplet. You know, that's where we have really strong winds blowing in different directions, called a couplet, and wind that's blowing out of that, or an outflow boundary south of Blue Springs. But to the north of that, it's going to be, I'm looking there at our radar, just south of Ripley. That's where you still have air that's blowing from east to west into the couplet. You can see what looks to be a small little hook there, and your tornado is going to be sitting there right where that red ball is, south and west of Ripley. And that's moving towards Sibley, and that's moving towards what could even be Buckner. It might lift just to the north of Buckner. But I still think that this is on the ground. I still think this is in progress. So if I'm in those communities, I'm taking my tornado shelter immediately.
Better safe than sorry. And one of the producers mentioned, what, a few 18-wheelers have been blown off the road. Sierra, did you say that? I-70 going into Independence. So yes, seems that would be very consistent with what we've been talking about with regard to the potential of a tornado on the ground. What you're seeing there is a Storm Tracker 9 that's out in the field as well, trying to stay as safe as possible. We are just noticing that, let's see. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, gotcha. Just reading some of the texts that are coming in and some of the spotters, and that's part of the reason we use not only the tools we have here in the First Alert Weather Center, but nothing beats an eyewitness report, especially from somebody who knows what they're doing. And so that's why I keep my smartphone with me to read some of those, and every once in a while I have to apologize to you that I'm going to be doing multitasking while people are talking in my ear to get you the latest information that's coming in here. But this is now probably a confirmed tornado that's heading very close to, once again, the ammunition plant, which is the Lake City ammunition plant. That is that little notch that we see there. So it seems to be at least clearing out from eastern Independence, northern portions of Blue Springs for the time being, but still a portion of, say, Jackson County, Sibley, and Buckner are still in the path, and we try to give you as much warning as possible. I also mentioned the Fort Osage High School a while back, and hopefully by now you're in your safe area as well. This is still showing up as at least the biggest storm that we have, but as Nick has said, and that's why he's kind of doing behind-the-scenes analysis while I'm talking to you, and Brittany's looking at some of the reports that are coming in, trying to divide the information as best we can and try to the duties as best we can. So what's go ahead.
You can see right up there on that top right monitor from links 2. If you just want to read them out, I just drew those.
Yeah, let's go to our second computer system, our other radar, just to give some new, fresh.
And it just updated. It's moving really fast. I want to redraw it for you here. But I'm gonna take this whole part.
Okay.
Just there on the side of caution, and I'm just gonna have it zipping pretty quick at 40 miles an hour.
It's going about 40 now. Okay.
So,
there we go. These are new times that we just put on here, and of course there's always a little bit of lag here. But Buckner at 250, so that's within 5 minutes for you. Sibley within 252, so 7 minutes. Oric, if it heads toward Ray County and holds together a little before 3 o'clock. Napoleon, Missouri at 3:01 as well. Camden at 3:05, and Henrietta almost at 3:15. Now remember, this is a tornado warning that stays in effect until 3 o'clock straight up. But part of the reason why we decided to do the storm track farther out, since it is moving so quickly, we want to try to give other folks that first alert as well, which is why you see these times of arrival even after the warning is set to expire. But still, Buckner, Sibley, and Oric, we're mentioning you over and over again with now fresh new estimated times of arrival. And the way it's flashing on our computer system, that means a confirmed tornado. Not just radar indicated. This is now a confirmed tornado, and we still are trying to err on that side. We always talk about the hook. That little hook that you see almost looks like an inverted comma. That is probably the notch of inflow that Nick was talking about. Whenever there's some wind pulling into the storm itself, that's an indication that's continuing to stay fairly mature. If we have the outflow where it's pushing out ahead of it, that could curtail the chances of that portion of the line being tornadic. So that's why within this whole line, we are still having some of those issues that are showing up, which is, again, part of the reason why the National Weather Service has put, and the Storm Prediction Center in cooperation with what's happening at Pleasant Hill, put us under this tornado watch until 8 o'clock. But I also mentioned once this line moves through, the threat of severe weather goes down. So within short order, we can probably start to clear some of the counties that are under that tornado watch, a little premature. But obviously right now we're continuing to update the situation and continuing to keep it moving because of what is going on with regard to these thunderstorms that are causing the issues, which obviously have our attention with the tornado that's on the ground itself. That's a possibility. We can go to the storm wind, which would be on our other radar system, radar 1, just to show, once again, let's see, Missouri City, that's going to be inflow. Buckner, outflow. I'm just trying to get my bearings here. Let's do some pixel queries, just out of curiosity, seeing what the winds are like. What we're doing is just going to put like an eyedropper, 61 miles an hour. Okay. And on the other side in the green, just out of curiosity, whoa. Now, this does not mean it's 120 plus miles an hour. It does not mean it's 127 miles per hour, but it's going to be pretty darn close by the time it mixes down to the ground, at least 70, possibly 80 miles an hour. So once again, whether it is a tornado producing the winds that you just saw, estimated by the radar, or it is a push of some of that gusty winds associated with that portion of the cell, it is still causing some concern for sure, and hopefully you're in your safe area by now. Confirmed tornado warning staying in effect for about another 12 minutes or so out for Jackson County. Looks like Lafayette County, oops, looks like there's a new one coming in here. Oh, extending, because we have two stories going on here. We have the tornado threat and severe thunderstorm threat that we talked about, but remember I put as number 2 on the list flash flooding. And so these are new severe thunderstorm that are producing flood warnings that have been issued as well. So what we're noticing here is, and you're probably seeing the ticker at the top of the screen trying to hold to that. So we are definitely noticing that part of the story as well. Nick, go ahead.
Shear rate on links 2, so it kind of peels away all the other stuff that's on the screen. If you're just looking at the part of the storm that's either producing the damaging wind or the tornado, there it is, clear as day.
That is an impressive signature, because Nick, you and I were working Oak Grove, we're working Linwood, and to see it that far in the maroon.
Yeah, when it gets into the maroons, that's it warrants your attention.
Yeah. In addition to having it flash, that's a confirmed tornado once again. Buckner, can't stress it enough, please be in your safe area for the time being, as this is still pressing off to the east. Within 40, 45 miles an hour, I'm sure we're going to see this thing jump a little bit. So hopefully you're down there, hunkered down, lowest level possible, protecting your head, facing the wall from all the debris that could be there. Not sure if we've seen any other debris signature on the CC?
No.
Just out of curiosity. Okay. Just want to make sure. Thanks for that, Nick. But we're also looking for reports coming in here. Not sure what the chatter is.
A lot of reports of semis being blown over. We just had another one come in.
Excuse me. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brittany.
Another report of a semi being blown over. This one at I-635 southbound at parallel, that is. So another report of that. And also, I just popped up the arrival times again for you all around the Sibley area. 2:55, Oric about 3:01, Richmond 3:13, Lexington about 3:16 for this confirmed tornado, at least the rotation that we're watching here, that just continues now. And let me go ahead and clear that and go ahead and add on the information for you. This is still in effect until about 3 p.m. And you can still kind of see, if I zoom on in pretty tight here like Nick was showing, we clearly do still have that rotation. Sibley, Buckner, it's right near you guys. Oric, if you are living in Oric, I definitely would go ahead and be taking your shelter right now, since this rotation is heading your direction. Even though you're outside of that tornado warning where it's flashing with that red polygon there, this is heading your way. So go ahead and be taking shelter right now to be on the safe side. And let me double check to see if there's any other updates coming in chat. No, just that flip semi still on its side. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out too. Take a brief break from talking about that tornado warning for 1 second, because I want to address just the general long line of storms that we're looking at here. Very strong wind gusts, also flooding. Please do not try to leave your house right now to drive. The roads are a mess. It is just flooded. Several reports of flooding coming in right now with this heavy rain. The ground is saturated, so the water is just piling up in several spots. So do not try to drive. We also have, just in general, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 3 o'clock. Remember, very strong wind gusts as well. We have had reports of around 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts within this general yellow polygon. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in, because we are keeping a close eye on this tornado warning. And right now we're in reflectivity mode. You can still kind of see we have that little curve, that notch right around the Buckner area. And that's the big concern we have. When any time you see that on radar, that's usually a sign of good rotation. And that's, of course, what we have been looking at. Nick, any updates from you?
I'm thankful to see that this line of storms is producing an outflow boundary that you can see from EAX. So that's going to be rain, cool air rushing eastward out of the thunderstorms, and that really minimizes the potential for that part of the line of storms to produce tornadoes. So, that begins, right on the hook near Buckner, and it drops south over Pleasant Hill, goes to Peculiar, Drexel, all the way down to Lynn Valley. So I'm not concerned about that part of the line right now producing these quick developing tornadoes. There's going to be torrential rainfall, but the real culprit here is going to be right where that outflow boundary hook backs into the storm, and you got a lot of inflow or winds coming into the storm and then rotating as those winds lift aloft. So that's why the tornado potential with this particular part of the storm, or the northern side of the storm, has been the one that has been producing tornadoes. The next stop for that is going to be north of Napoleon, Camden, Lexington, Henrietta, Richmond, Hardin. Not under any tornado warning right now, but this storm is moving in your direction, and it has a history of producing, at the very least, damaging wind and at least one confirmed tornado.
And right now, Buckner, hopefully you're in your safe area. Once again, can't emphasize it enough that even the Weather Service is talking amongst the emergency managers and other folks who are in what we call the National Weather Service chat, which is pretty much a chat room for all weather professionals. It was showing you that rotation that was there. So that is now heading toward Buckner itself. So this is going to be, let's go back to the other one if we can there, Leslie, thank you. This is just scouring away everything, a nice clean screen so you can see it. No other colors, just talking about the portion of the cell that we're concerned about. It is heading toward Buckner, and as we put into animation mode, you can kind of see how this thing is zipping across. At one time, fairly heavy, at least on the scale, It's not just weak rotation. It is right now over Buckner, and it's going to continue to move farther to the east and northeast. And this stays in effect until 3 o'clock straight up. But I still would like to, let's just move it a little farther to the west if I can. Just want to see who else is downstream from Buckner, since it is going to be heading eventually toward Ray County as well. So that's going to head, if it holds together, toward Camden and Oric, outside of the official tornado warning. But if it doesn't show many signs of weakening, it'll continue in that vein as well. So that's where you see it currently, as we put it back in animation mode. It's continuing to skip farther to the east, and so that's going to put it in neighboring Ray County as well. And once again, the reports are coming in to the National Weather Service, and that's what's getting funneled to us, and that's why we're still continuing our coverage. Okay, we have a report coming from the Kansas side. This is now a semi that you see on the scout camera blocking 635 in parallel. So it's not only causing issues with regard to the potential for a tornado, which is very isolated. The heavy rain is causing flooding, which is more widespread. And of course, the gusty winds from earlier causing all sorts of reports and all sorts of problems on the roads. And that's why we upgraded to an alert day with what you see behind me, which is still ongoing. And it is going to be 2 or 3 different weather stories simultaneous, not only the tornado threat, but the gusty wind threat, which is still going to cause some damage, 60, 70 miles an hour, and also the damaging wind, also parallel to the very, very heavy rain that could cause the flooding that's going to be out there. Was that where Storm Tracker 9 is? I'm just curious where they are. They're a little farther west.
Where our crews were. You have Brian Johnson. You have Storm Tracker 9 that looks like they're coming in through the sports complex, and you have Krista that's down there to the south on 435, and that's where that tornado came through. You know, along 435, came right into the Truman Sports Complex. So I'll be very interested to get the reports to see what they see around their area, if they've got any power lines or trees that are down or anything like that.
And they may not be ready to go on the air with us, but if we can connect with them via telephone, be very curious to see what's going on, just to see what has been happening and what is also imminent with the potential of the storm and part of its history that's still moving to the east. So Buckner, you are
there's a new tornado warning, Brian.
Yeah, that's
a new one
downstream for the
as we were just talking about
Buckner tornado.
As we were just talking about. So for Richmond, Oric, and as we said, farther into Ray County, is a continuation. Here you see the one that was the continuous tornado warning. That
it is not confirmed, though.
This one's not confirmed.
It's not a confirmed tag.
But what you see here to the northeast and east of Buckner, towards just south of Sibley, that little notch right in there is the portion of the storm that has had a history of producing a tornado on the ground. And so they are now extending that. Since this is supposed to expire in 4 minutes, they want to say, and rightfully so, because it is moving to the east and northeast at about 40 miles an hour. Next in line, as I've said before, York, Camden, now Richmond, Henrietta, among others, Napoleon, Wellington, Lexington, and Hardin. Within that,
there, Brian, right
and
up there.
On our other computer system, we have a fresh storm track that's just been drawn with estimated times of arrival. Maybe not the signature having as much of the maroon, but still there's rotation within this. Oric is hitting you at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Napoleon at 3:01. Farther down the list, Wellington at 3:08, Lexington at 3:15, Hardin at 3:20, as this is once again the portion of the cell along this line that's still causing quite a bit of problem with regard to the heavy rain, the flooding, and even wind gusts up to 60 and 70 miles an hour outside of the confirmed tornado that we had earlier. But this is still one storm that we're going to continue to watch. And as mentioned, as Nick said, once we see an outflow boundary as winds are pushing out of the storm, that's not the part of the storm that gives us the tornado threat, but it can still push out winds of 60 and 70 miles an hour. But now we are still looking for at least that rotation that we have still continuing, with that continuation now of a new tornado warning until 3:30. Jackson Kurtz is one of our reporters out in the field. I guess we've made contact with him. Jackson, what's going on? I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, hey Brian, we are headed towards Buckner right now. We didn't see too much damage on the roads. We just saw that one tractor trailer that was turned over near the stadium, near Raytown Road there. Try to get a look at the K at Arrowhead to see if there's any kind of damage. Couldn't see any damage from where we were headed there, but through Independence, we made our way through there. We definitely saw a lot of flooding. That was something that, definitely you guys have been talking about the last couple of hours, and of course till yesterday and leading up to today. Power outages, we did see a couple lights down, but Aside from that, it's just the heavy rain we're experiencing. So still trying to keep up on the roads here. We're headed into Buckner right now. We are on US 24 and just ready to see what else is out there. But again, no damage. We did see one small tree down and that tractor trailer that was turned over near Raytown Road. So we're just going to keep on the road here, head to Buckner, see if there's any more damage that we can assess and just report back to you guys.
All right, Jackson, thank you for that. So once again, he is heading a little farther behind from where that cell is, but still nonetheless, this is showing you why the coverage continues, because this is not showing many signs of weakening, and eventually we're going to see reports also coming in from Brian Johnson and some of the other spotters we have out in the field. But that is holding together. What you're noticing there is pretty self-explanatory. As it's on the air, we are noticing that just now east of Buckner, but heading toward Napoleon in that new tornado warning. Since this first one with the confirmed tornado was set to expire at 3 straight up, now on our radar 2 system, we can notice that, there you see it. I just want to, and if somebody can just stop it and leave it, yeah, on the last particular frame, because now it's leaving the confirmed tornado, is going now into the other area right in here. So that shows you as of 3 o'clock, one goes away, the next one is there, staying in effect until 3:30 or so. And there you see that rotation. And remember, not too long ago, it wasn't continuous, at least with the maroon. It now seems to be maybe not quite as big as it was west of Buckner, but still it's holding together well enough that Napoleon at 3:02 within the tornado warning. Also Wellington 3:08 and Lexington at 3:16. This is now the rotation that is still moving farther off to the east, so Napoleon definitely be in your safe area. And the reason that the National Weather Service draws these a little more broadly is just in case there's a little bit of a glitch or a slight wave or wobble in its forward progress, but it seems to be primarily moving still to the northeast at about 40 miles an hour. So that's part of the reason why, if you look at the shape, instead of going straight across the bottom of your screen, it's kind of veering up to the north and to the northeast. And this is the one that's still causing the issues right now. The other thing that I'm noticing is the fact that we still have, at least on radar 1, I'm still seeing the progress of the heaviest of the rainfall that's going through here. And is it Sean now in the control room as opposed to Leslie? Okay, thank you. And also Sierra? Just making sure. Okay, just taking quick roll call for the folks who are behind the scenes who are working very hard, giving us the information here so we can relay it to you in front of the camera. But right now, Orc, you see the heaviest of the cell, with at least as far as the rain is concerned. Also, back toward Buckner, you're about to get another line of wind and gusty winds, as well as some of that heavy rain as well. We're hearing thunder outside of our studio, but these are now kind of messy. Atmosphere has already been worked over. So as you go farther west of that initial line, Independence, Raytown, Blue Springs, farther south toward Grandview, heavy rain, yes. So now you're shifting your focus more toward the potential of flooding concerns and heavy rain more so than the tornado threat. Tornado threat's going to be probably on the leading edge of this line that's still moving through. But as you notice, it is just the one cell that's had a history of producing a confirmed tornado. Very close, as Jackson was talking about, near the sports complex itself. And this is still a tornado warning and stays in effect for another 28 minutes. So once again, from Buckner going farther to the east, in Richmond and Lexington, you're in this watch as well, or this warning, I should say, as well. The entire region is under a tornado watch until about 8 o'clock. But here you see the rotation, which is small, but embedded within that, a severe thunderstorm warning, which could be the torrential rainfall, which is not really part of a severe thunderstorm. It's more the wind threat. And I'm not seeing many hail reports. So this is, once again, as we talked about, we said that the #1 threat would be the potential for heavy rain, gusty winds, #1, heavy rain, #2, and then hail and tornado threat a little lowered. But we didn't say we could rule it out totally, and that's exactly what's happening, where just a couple of these thunderstorms within the line were strong enough to produce tornadoes and still holding together even at this hour. I'm going to step outside and take this call. Let me throw it to either Nick or Brittany for just 1 second.
Good, Brian. I was just coming up to tell you, there looked like there was something back behind here to the northwest of Oric, kind of buried back in that precipitation. I didn't know if it had any continuity with it. It's going to be about maybe 4 or 5 miles north and west of Oric, 3 miles northwest of Oric. So it's back in the rain. but it just looked like there might have been maybe a little bit of a downburst signature. It's not as apparent as it is as what it was there in the base velocity. It just might have been really quick, and that's been the problem here. These signatures, whether they're damaging wind or whether they're tornadoes, they occur so fast, they're not long lasting. And then another part of the line there along and north of the river, ends up being the dominant part of the line and produces the additional wind gusts or wind damage or tornadoes. But that's moving there to the east northeast. Thankfully, it doesn't look as strong or as evident of a tornado in progress as what it did when it came over the Truman Sports Complex. But that corridor there along the river, Camden, Richmond, Henrietta, Hardin, Norburn, Carrollton, Waverly, that's tough chase country there, trying to keep up with this storm. It chased through there many times, and it's really difficult to kind of keep up with it. And it's difficult to see it as well, which we don't want you trying to go outside and seeing this anyways. Thank you, Sarah. We've had lots of reports of semis that have been overturned as these storms came through. So that's wind of at least 60 to 70 miles per hour. But that corridor that runs along the river is still presenting favorable conditions for that part of the line to produce damaging wind and these quick developing tornadoes. We call them QLCS tornadoes. They're just small tornadoes that develop very quickly, sometimes without a lot of warning along the leading edge of the line of thunderstorms. And sometimes they kind of really localize themselves in one favorable spot of the line, and that just happens to be that storm that's run along the river there. You can see Richmond there within the tornado warning polygon. That rotational signature, that the velocities, the wind inside that storm right now doesn't look overly impressive. That's good, but if we've learned anything from these types of tornadoes, they spin up again real quick. It looks like it's coming just over Napoleon. Our shear rate, which we use to kind of help peel the veil back, get rid of a lot of the noise, and just really focus on, where the strongest wind are, whether that's straight line wind. We've used this before for straight line wind, but we use it a lot when we get more of a rotational component to the wind, or wind that's spinning or rotating, or, a tornado. It doesn't look as impressive as what it did earlier. We just have light shades of green. So that's good. That could be a sign that at least, the part of the storm that prompted this warning has weakened. But we still want you to be in your tornado safe place there in Camden, in Wellington, in Henrietta, Lexington, and Hardin. We can give you some all clears here, back to the west there in Buckner, Buckner and Sibley. We can give you the all clear there. Levacy, Oric, probably give you the all clear there as well. But Napoleon, Camden, Wellington, Lexington, Henrietta. Sierra, can you repeat that again real quick? Okay. I'm going to head over here to the wall. We want you to still be in your tornado safe place here for at least the next 10 to 20 minutes or so. So it's this part of the line we're concerned with. Brittany, if we could kind of zoom out here, I want to kind of give peace of mind to other people that may be out ahead of this storm. Darissa's right. Where is Darissa? She's near the stadium. Let's go ahead and go to Darissa, since right now this velocity coupler, this rotation doesn't look as impressive as what it did. We're just given the calls to action. Darissa, so you're at the stadium. There's very strong indication that a tornado came right through there. Have you seen any power line damage, tree damage? What are you seeing there around the Truman Sports Complex?
Yeah, that's right, Nick. Well, if you look right ahead of me, that is a tree that is down. So I don't know if you can see that, but that is a tree that was down, and I'm assuming that it just fell down when the tornado came through here. But even as we were coming through here, there were so many, flooded areas and spots, and we're in the M-Link, so we're pretty safe on the road. But all of these smaller cars and just cars on the road, you want to take it slow, because MoDOT, I was speaking with them earlier, they said 6 inches of moving water can knock you off your feet, and 2 feet of water can carry away most vehicles. So it is very dangerous to be on the roads. I would just stay home. If you can stay home, because like I said, I did feel safe in the M-Link. I mean, this is a pretty big vehicle, but I was worried about these other cars out here. We're going to get on I-70 now, Rachel. No, we're not going to get on I-70. We're just going to go straight. It is a drizzle right now, but before it was just wafting rain. So like I said, if you don't have to be on the road, stay
home.
That is a
So
good
back to you in the
report.
studio,
Yeah,
Nick.
because this is a multifaceted event where we have this one thunderstorm in the line that has been producing, you know, enhanced wind damage and tornadoes, and then we have all that heavy rain that's back to the west. The tornado warning has been allowed to expire, so they've canceled that for northeastern Jackson County. So that's going to be canceled. So we're really just focusing on this part of the line here. This is coming into Richmond. It does not look as strong or as impressive as what it did earlier when it came through the Truman Sports Complex, so that's good. I think that's going to be, you know, somewhere between Camden and Wellington. There's shear rate, which again is, it peels away all the other stuff, so we can just really focus on what's most important, and whether that's straight line wind or that's rotational wind associated with a tornado. That's between Camden and Wellington. That's just going to follow the river. You know, but basically that thunderstorm is feeding in to the highest instability, which is located just to the east. And that's where we also have a good bit of low-level wind shear. So that's why that storm has been a prolific wind producer and has prompted numerous tornado warnings. And what I imagine is probably at least one confirmed tornado. That's them. Yeah, they've canceled it. They've canceled it for Jackson. They've also canceled it there for Clay. So this is now the only part of the storm with the tornado warning, and that's going to include Camden, Richmond, Henrietta, and Lexington, giving the all clear there to Sibley and into Buckner. And I know they've had some tree damage there in Buckner. You know, that came right up over Buckner. So we'll have to check in with Brian Johnson here at some point. Not now, you know, let him, he's in heavy rain right now. And I can tell you from experience, very difficult to give a report when you're in very, very heavy rain in wind. So he's moving east there along the highway, heading toward Wellington. And it's going to be pretty hard to catch up with this particular part. So back to the west here for the Kansas City Metro. You know, that tornado threat is over. You know, it is now moved over to the flash flooding threat. And there's still a lot of rain falling. There's still a lot of rain that will fall. You know, most of our communities have dealt with flash flooding, and only a few have had to take their tornado precautions. You know, flash flooding remains one of the most concerning threats for the rest of this evening. I don't like to see this. I don't like to see those storms going up here in the open warm sector. We got to keep an eye on those, make sure they don't start spinning. They don't look overly impressive right now. We'll keep an eye on that storm. That's probably, what's the motion on this? Is this lifting south to north, or is this moving more to the east? It looks like it's lifting kind of south to north. Okay, we've got to keep an eye on that. You know, at some point those storms kind of move out of the instability and move into northern Missouri, which was worked over real good by the rain. You know, so it's, you know, I had to draw that line in here. It's like this. Everything south of the river, you know, still supportive of severe weather, and you know, you get up here, you know, farther up into far northern Missouri, maybe not so much. But you know, that storm's going to ride that instability axis, and it's going to go all the way along to the river. You know, from Carrollton, and then it's out of here. And then we can give the all clear there for all of our communities. Well, let's look up here a little bit farther to the, ooh, let's zoom in on that right up in here, Brittany. See that backward C shape? Yeah, that always gets my attention on the radar, or whether I'm out in Storm Tracker 9. You know, that tells me that there's very strong wind coming in behind and is forcing that storm out in all directions. So you get a backward C shape. So the apex of that radar signature is where you would find the strongest winds. And then in the case of today, you know, you can get little parts of that line to rotate, and that's what we're seeing here on the velocity. Now, far northern and northeast Missouri is in a radar dead zone. It's very difficult to get the radar beam low enough in the storm because of the curvature of the earth to see the rotation. So it might be very subtle, but subtlety pays off. And that's just southwest of Trenton. And I see a little bit more here between Gallatin and Trenton. You know, that might be enough, you know, for damaging wind or, you know, our next tornado warning. So we're going to watch that part of the line. So if you're in Trenton or Chillicothe, that's 65 highway. I want you just to be ready. Be ready to take your tornado precautions. There's no warnings or anything out like that yet, but you know, they can happen pretty quick, and I just didn't like what I was seeing there. So there's your first alert. Meanwhile, back down here, it's just the velocities just continue to look pretty messy. Messy's good. We don't want well-defined. We want messy and just kind of discombobulated, and that's what it looks like now with that storm that has prompted tornado warning. That's still in effect for, how long is that? It can't be much longer.
3:30.
3:30, so about another 15 minutes or so. And the reason why we're staying on, especially with those types of tornadoes, you're like, why is he just going on and on again? Doesn't seem like anything's changing. It can change in a minute. These types of tornadoes, they can spin up, do damage, and dissipate in between radar scans. So that's just a few minutes. That's why we're staying with it, because we don't want to just, send you back into programming in 1 minute and boom, a tornado drops, and we weren't doing our jobs. For our friends and our family here in Richmond, Henrietta, and Lexington, still doesn't look. Reading the Weather Service, I was
going to say, we have that Boeing segment.
But no tag.
Okay, so they did end up issuing a warning on it.
Yeah, but no tag.
Okay, so it doesn't have the tornado possible tag.
Correct.
Yet.
Yeah.
We'll see how that shapes out. So that's probably going to be for 60-mile-an-hour winds, at the least 60-mile-an-hour winds.
60.
So that's going to include Chillicothe, that's going to include Trenton, and that's going to include Brookfield. So that's going to be 65 highway runs north-south out of Trenton, and then you got 36 highway that runs farther to the east there out of Chillicothe. So that is a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect until 4:15. So we're going to keep a close eye on that, because I still think that there's that part of the state there's still enough surface instability and wind shear near the ground to perhaps promote some quickly rotating parts of the line, enhancing the wind damage potential and possibly even a tornado or two. We're going to send it back over to Brian. I'm going to do a little bit more analysis back over here. Good to go.
That'll work.
What an afternoon. I mean, you got tornadoes and flooding, and both of those have contradictory calls of action. One, you got to go low, and the other one, you got to go high.
Yeah.
So it's
it reminds me of the Linwood night.
Yes, very much so.
Where we had a flooding emergency at the same time we had the tornado heading up toward Excelsior Springs. So here's the situation, and we're trying to divide up the duties here in the First Alert Weather Center and also gather information from the field itself. We still have those new severe thunderstorm warnings. What I said, that new one that was issued up toward Grundy and other counties, is the fact that it looks like more wind than anything. It does not necessarily look like that part of the line has the rotation associated with a tornado, but it does have 60-mile-an-hour winds, which can still cause some damage. It is still this one portion of the line that still has the tornado threat there. That's once again from about Richmond, just south of Richmond, heading toward Lexington. So that'd be toward Lafayette County, and eventually he's heading toward Hardin as well. That is the nasty-looking portion of the line. But notice how it's just this one portion of that very long, continuous stream of thunderstorms. Back to the west, Buckner, we were giving you that first alert earlier. Now it looks like a driving heavy rain. So the farther west you are, at least the tornado threat seems to be coming down quite a bit. That is great news. However, the flooding concern is still out there as well. So as we're setting the stage and we're getting reports coming in from the booth and from our reporters, we have Brian Johnson out there, Darissa White who's out there, Jackson Kurtz who's out there, and our anchors are on the other side of the studio. You can't see them. They're preparing for the 4 o'clock news, because this is still going to be going on probably even after the 4 o'clock hour, when at least the tornado warning hopefully will expire. And right now I'm not seeing any indications that they're thinking about extending that. But I'm sorry, they're thinking about expiring?
Yeah, they're waiting for a few more scans, and then they're going to...
I understand that. As a matter of fact, Brittany, let's just zoom in on just that portion of the cell. Let us change it over to, if we can, to rotation, so we just get rid of all...
Oh, you want shear rate?
Shear rate, thank you so much. There it is, now on the west portion of Lexington. There you see, weaker than it was earlier, but still rotation nonetheless. And this is the same cell that was at least responsible for that confirmed tornado that was in Jackson County, very close to the sports complex. Remember that. They are setting to expire in hopefully 13 minutes or so, but still, Lexington, you should be in your safe area by well. Go ahead, Nick.
The line up there near Jamesport, we got to keep an eye on it. It's starting to show a little bit more signs of becoming more wavy.
Okay.
More inflow, more outflow, more balance, more rotational components to the wind there. That's near Jamesport, so that's going to be with that severe thunderstorm warning, at the very least, putting out 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Yeah. Okay, let's go a little farther north then, because as you heard, Nick, who's doing some analysis while I'm here at the wall, was talking a little farther to the north, where it's not a nice, clean, continuous line. There are little notches. You've heard me say that a few times this afternoon. And one of those notches, again, one thing I love about our team is we have so much information and so much in the way of expertise, where Nick cut his teeth in Amarillo, Tulsa, and Oklahoma City, among others, before coming here for 10 years. So if he says something is getting his attention, it's getting mine as well. So he's talking a little farther to the east and northeast, and it does not look like it's looking a little. You're right, Nick. A little more symmetrical.
It looks a little
yeah.
a little wavy there from Jamesport over to 65 Highway coming into Trenton. Just something to watch.
Mm-hmm. Nothing confirmed, and if we're looking at, the National Weather Service is looking at, because they're the ones who issue all the warnings. So if they see something that looks suspicious, they'll go with it. But right now, a severe thunderstorm warning, and as I've said a couple of times as well, whether it's a 60-mile-an-hour wind from the thunderstorm or a 60-mile-an-hour wind rotating in a tornado, it still could cause some damage because it's just underneath hurricane force. So it's the leading edge that is still pressing off to the east and northeast, and we still have the severe thunderstorm warning until 4:15, and that's the new one up toward Grundy in Livingston County, among others. Farther west and southwest, that's where you run into the flooding concerns, and that's why you see with the other box there coming in from some of our field reports. Yeah, in some cases it's coming down quite a bit. Torrential rainfall causing the flooding concerns as well. And still the one tornado warning that's still in effect for now another 11 minutes, although they're still looking at that cell very carefully. But Lexington, hopefully in your safe area. No confirmed tornado touchdown per se, but it does at least have the indications of a little bit of rotation that's out there. So protect your wall. Protect yourself by facing the wall, protecting your head, getting as low as you can to the lowest level possible. You said Alan is out in the field? We have some, okay, what we had, Alan Shope was out earlier today, and he has some video that we've decided to bring back into the newsroom itself, just showing you some of the damage that was earlier, and I'm not sure the location of that. I'm talking to the booth there, Raytown. Okay, so it's the video itself, and this was very earlier this evening, kind of about when that portion of the cell was getting very close to the stadium itself. And that was the confirmed tornado that was very close to the sports complex. And what you're noticing there is, again, it was a situation where it changed on a dime, and it still continues to change on a dime. The sirens are going off as well. We have reports of the sirens going off in the Brookside area. We had them going off on the plaza. We had them going off downtown. But I can tell you that right now, it seems that the worst is over for the city itself. With regard to the flooding, that's the only problem that we're looking at. But we still have portions of Ray, Lafayette County as well, still under that tornado warning now for another 10 minutes or so or less, depending on whether they're going to extend it at 3:30 or not. But right now, the indications are it's still holding some bit of continuity, or it's still holding together as it is moving across, not too far away from Lexington, and that was the last report that I saw of the better rotation that was there. Let's see. Jackson's another one that we're going to go to. Before I go to Jackson, I just want to see that it looks like the tornado warning is going to be canceled at this time as it's coming in from the National Weather Service for Lafayette County. It appears that the tornado producing cell is weakening, no longer a threat, but still we could see some gusty winds up there. And with the winds up to 60 miles an hour, that could cause some issues as well. But now we're going to regroup here as we're getting new information coming in. Jackson Kurtz is out in the field. Jackson, what do you have, sir?
Hey, Brian, just want to give you a heads up of just where we are right now. We're in Wellington heading towards Lexington. We've not seen any damage of significance. Basically started off near the stadiums and then headed towards Independence where we saw some flooding situations. Everyone driving pretty slowly, taking their time, which is good. And then a couple of street lights not working. But aside from that, we've not seen too much damage at all. We saw one little tree down. Aside from that, just that torrential rain that we've been experiencing. But one thing too, winds, not been too much of an issue. A lot of drivers taking their time on the roads, but we're heading into Lexington to see the damage. You may be able to see some of those construction signs to the right of your screen right there. We just passed one a little second ago. Those are pretty much the only things that we've seen been impacted by this storm that came through. So I will tell you though, once we were close to getting near the storm, behind it, so we weren't in its way. Safety, of course, is high regard, but once we were getting close to it, that rain was pretty strong. A lot of people pulled over to the side of the road, taking shelter, doing what they can to stay out of its way. Let's see if I can get a different view there. yeah, not too much there either, so we'll just stay on that. But again, not too much damage that we've been seeing here. People taking their time. We're heading into Lexington to see if there's any more of this storm system that's made any impact of damage or caused anything like that. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated, and we'll let you know what we see from here. Back to you.
All right there, Jackson Kurtz with that report. Thank you very much. We're also getting some of the reports coming in from Darissa, who's out in the field, and also Brian Johnson as well. Let's see, the other thing that I'm just reading here, so I'm off camera a little bit, just reading some of the information that's coming in from the National Weather Service. And what you're seeing right there is first alert radar. They have decided once again to allow that first tornado warning to expire, but now you see some of those yellow boxes, which is the leading edge, which is still causing 60-mile-an-hour winds at least.